I took the liberty of printing out the questions for the Hanged Man tag. Thought I would answer some of them. I'm still working on a lot of them, but some of them I wanted to answer because I haven't been feeling the energy like I normally am. And I think talking about some of these questions out loud will kind of help my brain. So, okay. How does stillness what does stillness truly mean to me? And how is it different from stagnation? And I kind of divided this question up myself into like what I think stillness means spiritually, energetically, and psychically. So, or psychologically, more apt would be to say psychologically. So spiritually, it's a quietude. It's like listening without responding. Spiritually speaking, it's more about the communion, right? And the solstice for me is always this quiet time. And it's not necessarily quiet in the body or in the brain, but with spirit, it is a time for me to shut my mouth, you know? And also it acts as like its own cleansing because when that happens. So when it becomes this quiet time, this and not even necessarily reflection, because I don't always reflect. It's more about like just breathing it in, you know, breathing it in and expanding within the quiet. It's an expansion within the quiet. And then it acts as a cleansing for my soul when I do that. When I quiet down like that in this stillness, spiritual stillness, I quiet down, and then it's like the soul can become cleansed. And the soul can get like trashy. It can get trashy in there. So it's like, have you ever seen like those witches' balls? You know, like they look like ornaments, right? And they're just chock full of stuff. That's what I feel like my soul can get like sometimes. That I just keep pouring stuff into it without getting rid of the trash, without getting rid of the moldy stuff. And like I have to get my tweezers and just start plucking stuff out. But for me, the only way that I can truly, you know, release some of those harmful fumes, okay, I'll say, out of the soul is to quiet down. So spiritually, it's a quietude. And then energetically, I like how Amber mentioned the void, okay? Because, you know, she my void sister. Void energy is so powerful for me, okay, in my practice, I'll say. And energetic stillness is a void. And there's a crackling. There is a vibration there, because I know Amber mentioned that too. It's still vibratory. And it crackles like tiny lightning. And for me, it's almost like chaos when it's masquerading as order. So order or chaos like puts a order mask on. And it kind of, it's thrilling. It's like there's a thrill to that, but like that it's disguising itself, right? But it's disguising itself for a purpose. It's because it's like you can't handle this all of the void. You can't handle the real chaos, you know, like you can't handle it. If I were to just let myself go and release my ball of energy, of void energy, I don't know, it becomes more harmful than good. So I do think of energetic stillness as a void space and a void place and phase. So, and they all kind of interweave in this kind of crackling way. But for me, it's really chaos that's have to sew itself up into an ordered suit so that I can process better with it, because I'm still just human, you know. And then psychologically, I think I wrote focused meditation. Again, this expansion. Okay, there's expansion in stillness. It's like a blossoming, but not an awakening. Okay, so it's just like an unfurling. And psychically, that means that I can literally, if I'm truly still psychologically, I can almost feel the synapses firing. I can almost feel blood vessels opening, and I can almost feel the expansion, but I'm not doing anything with it. You know, it's not an active response. It's just like what's going on, and I can like hone in and focus on that. So, and then also one great question about with this is, how is stillness different from stagnation? Simple. For me, stagnation is purposeful. Okay? Stagnation is indifference and neglect. When you think of it and you think of something stagnating, you've left it there. It's been left there to stagnate. Purposeful indifference and neglect. Okay? Stillness can be purposeful and it can be purposeless. It can be meaningless and meaningful. It's so liminal. Stillness is so liminal but stagnation is not liminal. Okay? Stagnation is debris, and it's indifference with a exponent of decay. Okay? So for me, it's all about, stagnation would be about neglect and indifference, possibly harsh emotions like hate too go into stagnation, which can be vibratory. Stagnation can also have vibrations, but it's running like sludge and molasses, like very slow. It's like almost like if you were to seep yourself down into what's stagnating, it's running so slow, it's kind of toxic feeling. So simple. All right, next question. How do I personally understand December's darkness? Do I experience it as rest, concealment, intimacy, yada, yada, yada? I work with darkness because I revere darkness. Okay? And I see so much. Oh, okay. One of my pet peeves is that the winter solstice is about the rebirth of the light. Okay? And then the summer solstice is just about revering the light that's there, that's present as the first day of summer, right? And Imbolc is about that candle flame, that small bit of light, because it's coming back, the light's coming back. And then, like, it's like the only Sabbath we have, we witches, okay? We spiritually magical beings, is Samhain, and even that has kind of a, not always a dark take, okay? I like the winter solstice because I actually revere the darkness on this Sabbath. The darkness as presence, the darkness as entity, and the darkness as something to behold, not just constantly trying to find the light. That gets on my nerves. So, the darkness for me is about dormancy. Okay, again, this crackling magic that's full of void, that's full of expansion without awakening, and that's full of this kind of cleansing energy, right? What did I write down? Sleepy comfort, okay? Because we're all pretty cozy in the winter. We try to be, okay, if we're blessed. We're cozy, but it's like this kind of sleepy. And now I've mentioned before that in the summer, I tend to hibernate in the summer, okay? I tend to just hermit up and not want to go out because I don't like summer, okay? And so I tend to awake in the winter. So it's kind of like the roles of the seasons are reversed for me in that way than a lot of people. But there is hibernating vibrancy with this Sabbath and with this solstice specifically. And I revere the solstices themselves the highest in my practice. Like, I might forget all the other ones, but I'll never forget Letha and I'll never forget Yule. Those are like my top dogs, okay? Just because of what they represent to me internally in my practice. But I say, so many people see the winter solstice as the rebirth of the light and a revering of the light in the summer. But I like to sit in the dark and revere it. I did write down that I wanted to refer to my Night with the Goddess video. There's a lot of nighttime stillness, quietude in that video. Ironically, it was filmed in the summer. But anyway, I'm going to leave that video below. It was like a few years ago now. But I really enjoyed making that video. And it was almost like I was honoring the dark in that video. It's kind of a vlog too. It's kind of a vlog style video. And I talk a little bit about the maiden mother of the crone, I think. The archetypes. So get a little information from Lennon if you want. Something about the night, the darkness specifically. How do I personally work with the solstice energy? Yule, again, is about revering the darkness. Oh, I love revering darkness and night and communing with night as its own entity. Okay. And if you're familiar with my poetry book, Immaculate Immortality, which is about like the dark feminine, I have Nyx in there as one of the goddesses. And I write her a lot of poetry, but I fear night all year. I fear like the starry night sky and the colors of the night sky all year long, and the moon. Okay. But there's something about winter. It's so fresh, so fresh. The air is so clean in the winter for me. And I've been like this since I was a child. I would go outside and just take a deep breath and just feels completely rejuvenated because the air is so clean. There's just no sun radiation. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of sunlight radiation in the winter. So the air is cleaner a little bit. And the cold acts as like its own cleansing agent for me too. So it's about freshness. And I wrote down depollution. It's almost like this time of year we go into this dark depollution, where things are depolluting. What's been polluted is going, and stagnant, is going to become cleansed again in this kind of like go down the drain kind of a feeling, right? It's a presence that I look forward to communing with. What does I love how Amber is so like my deep thinking sister. Okay. Like everyone that comes across my channel always tells me how much they, love my deep thinking and my process. But Amber, man, she's my deep thinker sister. Okay. So check her out. But what does no rebirth required mean for my spiritual path? Okay. And I love how she talks about rebirth not always having to be the constant. Like you can gestate. You don't have to reinvent yourself. I love that. So what does no rebirth required mean? Well, rebirth and reinvention for me always have a way of signaling me. It says, where have I outgrown the need to constantly reinvent myself? Well, it's all about signals. I don't go looking for it. And it's almost like even when I need one, like I need a reinvention or a rebirth, I don't go looking for it. Because it's almost like I'll get there, but I'll feel the signals in my body and in my mind and in my energy and in the spirit that I work with. I'll feel this kind of something, and I just kind of let go and let Goddess, I wanted to talk about that rebirth for me is a birth, okay, which is painful and raw, and I don't know why anyone would go looking for it, to be honest with you. There's so much heavy breathing and bleeding and pain and abyss energy. And I love how one of the next questions talks about the womb space, because there's just such good segue there. But rebirth is a birth, which is painful and raw and bloody. And the only way out of that shit is through it. Okay. And you just have to grit or scream. And so it's probably not always ever going to be pleasant. And so when it comes, it'll come, and it just can't be forced. And I don't force it. And it's like the next question, like I said, segues into this, is like, what does the womb space and the container mean in my spiritual or personal practice? And how do I recognize when something within me is gestating rather than waiting to be born, right? Because a rebirth, again, as a birth, there has to be a gestation period. You don't just get pregnant, okay, metaphorically, get pregnant and then give birth right away, right? There's a growth, there's a gestation, and it always does kind of feel like people want it back to back, boom, boom. You want the gain something and then birth it and be able to birth it right away. But there's always this vortex that's going to happen. And let me read what I wrote because I don't remember. The womb space for me is a rendering, a rich, fertile vessel. The magic of womb is suspension, renewal, introspection, shedding, and protection. Because when a birth is happening in this womb space, because I'm using anatomy as a metaphor only because I understand the anatomy, okay? But if you don't understand the anatomy, it doesn't matter. I use the anatomy, my own anatomy, I'll say, for the metaphor of womb space only because I understand it. And for me, it's not only about birthing, it's also about shedding. So I use it metaphorically for that too. So shedding and protection. It's a protection, right? Like you want to protect it. It's a vessel you want to protect. And weirdly enough, I had been looking, and my card of the year in tarot for next year, 2026, is the World card. And I thought, how cool would it be to look at the World card as this future coming for me, and then the Hanged Man, which is the card for this tag, and how they can mirror each other, as almost like the Hanged Man being this space I'm in, and I'm coming to the World card, right? And instead of like doing it boom, 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 there's a lot of cards in between Hangman and the World, how they mirror each other as these cards for this time leading into next year. And there's so much suspension. There's so much abyss energy, because the World card, especially in the Rider-Waite-Smith, okay, and the Universe card in Thoth, she's floating, okay? But the Hangman is suspended upside down. So there's this aspect of like suspension, but also not knowing which way is up, right? You're in this kind of purgatorial space, this void. And I loved that mirroring that happened in my brain. I see the womb too, because the womb is the World card for me as well. But I see the abyss, the capital T, the abyss. Like what the Hangman's looking at, that's below his head, is treacherous, okay? It's treacherous. It's treacherous waters. But it's also life-giving. And that's the womb. So, anyway, a swirling vortex of magic pulls below my head and feet, and I can't tell right now which way is up and which way is down. And it really doesn't matter. That's what I wrote. I am very much spread-eagled and suspended like Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. I like that. I like that I wrote that. Okay, last question that I'm going to talk about is, how do I sense when something new is forming within me without naming it too early? God, there's such good questions. Now, my word of the year for 2025 was surreal. And boy, has it been, okay, for me. But it hasn't led to fun places. I thought that it would have me be in this cool, surreal landscape all the time, because I wanted to generate surreal landscapes within my brain and have that be something I live towards for the year. No. What it ended up looking like for me was that I was cut up in a million pieces, and I was trying to put myself back together. Again, like the Hangman and the World. And it's not been treating me very kind in the end of this year. I've been very depressed as of late, which is not me at all. I've just been low vibe, low energy, can't seem to get myself out of it. And so it's been weird, but it's also like this weird waiting, right? I feel kind of like I'm on a precipice, and kind of like I've precariously put myself back together, but that's been painful and it's been raw. And, you know, where I've stitched myself up, they haven't healed. And I feel very wounded for some reason. But again, it's like this waiting, like almost like my final stage in this surreal landscape of that is myself, that is this vessel that I am. The last stage is to cut the suspension cord on the hangman's foot and just let me go. And then I can become the world card. But it's harder than you think to cut that bungee cord. Because it's been niggling, and I've just been like, nah, I'm not ready. So, what I write. It's been feeling like a precipice, yes. Something is coming. I sense a resurrection and any new substance. Oh, I sense. Okay, it says, how can you sense that something new is coming? Because I've been feeling like that. I sense it by the new substances within the patterns I know within myself. So I'll start by noticing things differently. Okay. One thing I wrote was mundane things, even myself, like I'll see myself different in the mirror. I can't get my coffee to taste right. Stuff like that, like mundane things, like, oh, my coffee hasn't been tasting right the last couple of weeks. You know, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Maybe I need to clean my coffee pot. Like, maybe I need to add this kind of sugar instead of this or whatever. Like, I'm a basic bitch, so I just have a coffee pot. Like, no Keurig or anything. So, I haven't done anything to my coffee. So it's like, I don't know why it's tasting weird, right? So it's like little things will start changing within me, and I'll start noticing them. And that's how I can always sense when something's coming. And sense when something is coming in terms of a change. Especially in terms of like a weird shape shifting. So, also my decisions, like my decision making skills and my responses to people, almost in this shadow work way, they change as well. So there's so many subtle changes that's how I always sense when something's coming. There's a feeling like something is throwing me off kilter. This is usually what tells me what is what, and it's in the very soul. This churning. It causes imbalances, and I need to become friends with the void once more and embrace the darkness. And, you know, my word of the year this year was surreal, but then last year's, 2024, was effervescent. So this fizzy, bubbly, because I'm not really a bubbly person, like in real life. And so I wanted to have like this bubbly energy to fulfill some of the projects that I was doing and mindsets and things like that. But there was so much color the last couple of years that I don't want the color. I don't want the color, right? And I've been getting so many intuitive hits that I'm going into this weird crimson phase. Red ain't my color, okay? Not really. Like, I don't wear a lot of red. I don't embrace with a lot of red in terms of life force, vitality, energy. The womb space for me, and like if I were to go into witchcraft terms, I use a lot of blood and pomegranate juice and things of those kinds of crimsons, right? But that's usually all I embrace. But in terms of like red, in terms of vitality, you know, like scarlets and other forms of red, I've been feeling like I want to get more into, or I'm going into a red phase. And it makes sense if something's coming and I'm shape-shifting and I'm like, I've been this jigsaw puzzle that I've just messed myself all up and I don't know which part of me is working and which is not, then I'm going to have to put myself together, and that becomes a rebirth, and it'll come when it comes. I'm not going to force it. I don't really name it. I just notice the patterns. But then when the birth comes, it will be a red phase because it'll be a birth. It'll be bloody and raw, and it's not necessarily something I'm looking forward to. But I just feel like there's been so much color and I need to tone it down. I need to get some red and possibly even some muted earth tones and just kind of mute down and get to some kind of essential core of myself. So, God, that was a lot. I hope I didn't word vomit too much on y'all. So, if y'all are looking for some real introspection this time of year, okay, please check out this tag. There's a whole bunch of other questions that I didn't get to that I'll be working on. But please go check out the tag because Amber, like I said, she's a deep thinker, okay? She comes up with some really good questions. So, anyway, that's all I have for you today. Hope everyone has a magical season. A magical Yule. Whichever Sabbath you're in. Much love, everybody.